next seating is Ole Hermanson, J. Aloysius Hogan. Yes. Okay. Mr. Pearl, you're with us again. Good to see you, Mr. Pearl. Donna Miller. And okay. Darian Murray and Steve Mertes. Okay. Well, why don't we start?
My name's Ole Kushner Hermanson. I'm an organizer for AFT Connecticut, an affiliate of the American Federation of Teachers. And I'm here with my colleague, Donna Miller, who is a home health aide from the VNA of Southeastern Connecticut. I've been organizing for 10 years. During this time, I've worked on more than a dozen campaigns. I've worked with workers in food service, hotels, museums, private sector education, and most recently with all classifications in acute care hospitals. I've been the lead organizer on 6 campaigns during which we petitioned for an election with the NLRB. I've become very familiar with the board's election process. In every one of these elections, the time between filing to the date of the election was the most hostile and tense, in the time when the workers were subjected to the most scrutiny and surveillance. In each campaign, the employer knew about the organizing efforts long before we filed for election. In each campaign, the employer ran a coordinated anti-union campaign on work time in the workplace before the petition was filed. In each campaign, the employer retained anti-union consultants and produced reams of anti-union literature before the workers filed the petition. In each campaign, the employer was aware workers were signing union cards and released literature specifically aimed at discouraging workers from signing. In each campaign, the workers informed management when they achieved majority status and asked the employer to recognize their union without a lengthy process. In each campaign, the employer sought to delay the election as much as possible, always pushing for a date beyond the recommended 42 days from filing. In each campaign, the employer withheld information about the eligible voters until the last possible minute. In each campaign, the employer ramped up their anti-union campaign after the petition was filed. And in each campaign, the employer violated the law in the time between filing and election. When we organized the nurses at Rockville Hospital in 2009, before the union even petitioned for an election, management put anti-union letters in employees' paychecks, posted on bulletin boards, and handed out literature to workers in the workplace. The employer sought to delay the hearing twice. On the day of the hearing, in an effort to reach stipulated agreement, the employer allowed the board agent and me to view the list of workers eligible on his laptop. It was in Excel. It was neatly formatted with names, addresses, departments, average hours worked, and hire dates. Yet the Excelsior list was given to the union at the last possible moment. In a fax copy, 5-point font, no grid lines, no column headings, and skewed to the side on the paper. They actually worked to cause delay and confusion rather than provide the information promptly. The employer used the delay to try to convince the nurses they should not join the union. Between filing and the election, management produced 30 unique anti-union documents totaling over 60 pages of material for a unit of 100 nurses. They held meetings on every floor, in every department, on every shift. In 2013, an overwhelming majority of the home health aides at the VNA of Southeastern Connecticut signed union cards and a public petition. Out of 26 aides, 20 signed a public petition and 16 appeared in photos. These aides made their desire to collectively bargain very clear. They filed for an election on September 16th, and despite a stipulated agreement, the employer insisted on October 24th. During the federal government shutdown, the election was put into limbo. But management did not stop campaigning. They sent out leaflets, held mandatory anti-union meetings on work time, and even sent handwritten letters to each aide. When the government reopened on October 17th, the election could have gone forward as scheduled, but the employer demanded another delay for no reason at all. The board was available, the employees were ready, but the employer was able to push the election all the way back to November 8th. Despite 54 days of anti-union harassment from their employer, all but one aide voted to join the union. In each of these elections, the employer was entirely in the driver's seat, determining the day of the election and able to delay the will of the employees for months. It seems the employer has endless opportunities to forestall the rights of the workers. Pass it over to Donna.
I have worked for the company for 10 years.
Donna, can you move your mic up closer to you?
Is that better?
Yeah.
I've worked for the company for 10 years. Last summer, I decided it was time for a change. I saw how much better the nurses were treated, and I realized it was because they had a union, they had a voice. This made me realize that we needed a union, we needed a voice. I spoke with my coworkers and we were all on the same page. We called the union. A majority of us decided we wanted to join. We signed union cards and petitions. We asked management to recognize our union and begin the bargaining process. It was a clear majority. Management refused. We wore buttons declaring our solidarity to staff meetings, but the answer was still no. In the parking lot, full view of management, we all took pictures and signed a petition. The answer was still no. The president of the company wrote handwritten cards and mailed them to our homes, encouraging us to vote no. Management delayed the election as long as they could. Many of us became anxious that our jobs were in jeopardy during this delay. Why is management allowed to hold us back? It is supposed to be our right to bargain collectively. They delayed the vote for the sake of delaying. We felt our rights were being violated because our company continued to stall the vote. I want to know why my company or any company has the right to delay our votes, not once but many times. It is very hard for workers to stand up to their bosses and ask for a voice. We need our government to be there for our workers to facilitate the process of forming a union. It did not need to be this difficult. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present our story.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Thank you.
You know, I want to thank both of you for your comments. And the one question that I have is, you know, we have many cases. In your case, it sounds like the employees were unanimous in their support for representation, except for one. We have many cases where the entire election turns on a margin of one vote, which would suggest that the employees had different sentiments about union representation. And, you know, this is an issue where there are many strong feelings on all sides, and, you know, that's evident in many of the comments everybody has given to us. But what do you think is the right amount of time in terms of, in those instances where people are really trying to figure out what is the right thing for them? What do you think is the right amount of time?
So I think that in her election, it was near unanimous. In the example I explained at the Rockville General Hospital, it did turn on one vote. I think the employer's position is always delay. I think that if there's an opportunity to delay the election, the employer will delay the election. I think that there's ample opportunity for people to get information on both sides, that really the employer has endless opportunities to communicate with their workers during working hours. But if they have an opportunity to delay, they will. When I worked with the Bacchus nurses just a few years ago, one of the employer was represented by Tom Gibbons from Jackson Lewis, who's a former board attorney. And when when we stipulated the election, he would not provide the classifications that would be represented. And when asked why he wouldn't provide the classifications, he said, because he doesn't have to. To the board agent, that's what he said. I don't have to provide them. When we asked him why the date should be on the date that he selected, which was as far out as possible, he said, because I can. That's when I want it to happen. They were very frank, and I appreciate their candor in some ways, but honestly, the employer has endless opportunities to communicate with their workforce, and if you create an opportunity for them to delay, they'll delay.
But we have to anticipate that both sides will try to make reasonable decisions that will support their particular view. But with your experience, what do you think is the right amount of time?
I think that it's not conceivable to me that there would be the ability for the board to conduct elections the day that workers decided that they wanted to join a union, bargain collectively, as is their right. But if it was possible, then that's appropriate, because it's really the worker's decision. The employer has communicated with the employees since the day of hire. Most of the people in this room have probably seen the 20-minute Target advertisement that they show every single worker upon hiring on why they don't think a union is necessary. The employer has communicated with the workers on what they think.
So you would embrace the as soon as practicable stance?
Yes.
Ms. Miller, I want to thank you for coming to testify today and for your courage to do that. And I think it is very important for the board to hear from the workers who are the ones who vote in the election. I wanted to ask you if you thought that the delays served a purpose in helping you and your coworkers become more informed about the law and the issues involved in the election.
No, we knew about it. I mean, if we had questions, we asked, the president or even Ole. We knew what we wanted. We knew all about it. There are a lot of minority aides, and they all called me with questions, and if I didn't know the answers, I would call Ole or even ask the CEO. She would answer them.
So you had the information you needed.
We did. Yeah.
Thank you very much, both of you.